Ladies and gentlemen, listeners, lovers, and friends, welcome back to the podcast at Two Ticks and the Dog Productions up above Dave Grohl Alley in beautiful downtown Warren, Ohio, home of Modern Methods Brewery. Now, if you haven't had a Modern Methods this weekend, you are missing out.
Yes, you are.
What is this?
Jeanette.
A Jeanette. The American Cream Ale.
She only comes around the summer.
That does sound kind of sultry.
It's all the women, all the beers are named after women down there. Not all of them, but a lot of them.
The ones that are really good are.
The one, yeah. We didn't bring any Panther Town.
No.
Panther Town is out now, folks. It has been released and it is out in the public. Ask for it at your local grocer. You could try it at your local bar, and you could always do a pull through Dave Grohl Alley and pick it up at Modern Methods after you've got your car clean. Don't get a Modern Methods order and roll down Dave Grohl Alley in some dirty car.
No.
It's not a good look. And you know who does the best car washes in the Warren, Youngstown, Greater area, Sharon, Hermitage area?
I think I know.
Take a guess.
Coates?
It is. It is Coates Car Care. And listen, prodders out there, we're halfway through season 2. You can still win a Coates Car Care Express exterior wash simply by visiting theprodcast.net, signing up for your free giveaway, and we draw one name, one lucky winner every week, and we mail you a car wash.
That's awesome.
It's pretty awesome.
I am a member of their wash club. And
Do you like it?
I love it. They probably lose money on me because I do drive my car through there every morning on my way to work.
That's the idea.
Yeah.
Well, tell us, Mr. Guest, before we give you the intro. You can go as many times as you want. Once a day.
Once a day, right?
Yeah.
And I thought it was the best deal ever.
Yeah. Which do you know what package you have?
I have the top one. I think it's all the Epic.
Of course
Epic
you
wash.
do. He's got the Epic wash. So let me ask you a question. How much is that a month?
Is it bad if I tell you I have no idea?
No, it's not.
I just move everything I sign up for. I move to autopay, and then I forget about it.
I got
right?
you. I don't remember how much.
I think it might be 40 something.
I think it is in the 40s.
42 maybe.
But really, it's a deal. So it's like a little over $1.30, $1.25 if you went every day.
Well, especially if you're paying $20 a wash,
Right. Yeah, it pays for itself really in a couple washes.
I'm not kidding.
Listen, we're not sending you, if you win the podcast giveaway, you just get an Express exterior wash. You can always upgrade.
Right.
So visit theprodcast.net.
You should upgrade too, because I think that Epic is where you get the bubblegum wax and it smells good and
it's like a disco.
Looks like you're going through like a little psychedelic trip for a couple minutes.
Yes, it does. Yes, it does. At the car wash. My son loves going to those because it is like a rave of some sort, bubbles and light show,
and your car's in neutral. You can just turn on your music.
Yeah, and
we should just talk about Coates car washes for the whole time.
This is the biggest plug he's gotten so far.
Well, it's great having a guest that is just jumping right in on the sponsorship, and he's a buyer.
Well, I feel like I had to. I'm a member, and why not?
It's perfect.
Mm-hmm. And yesterday I got a free rag to wipe off my dashboard because I'm a member of the club.
Right.
So that's nice.
Yeah, they give you an interior wash, not a wash rag, but disposable. Mm-hmm. Comes in a little thing.
Like a little wet nap for your car.
Little wet nap for your car.
Everybody's going to Coates after this.
Yeah. If you're driving down East Market Street in Warren, Ohio, and you pass by a sign that looks like a prim and properly cut bush that says Youthology with white letters, that is Dr. Jason Rupeka's place of art. That is his temple
studio
of aesthetic cosmetic artistry. Welcome to the show, Jay.
Thanks, I appreciate it. Thanks for having me.
Glad to have you.
Yeah, so tell us, how did you come up with the name Youthology?
Well, when we were thinking of a name, we wanted something that encompassed what we do, and I think we were trying to stay on the level of we have a doctor there full time. And what the services we're going to offer.
Who's the doctor?
It's myself.
Yes.
The services that we would offer are more than what you would get at a regular spa.
Right.
And so we wanted a scientific kind of beauty name. And our friend Molly, I know you guys know Molly.
Yeah, Molly Mokers.
Came up with the name, and it was perfect. It fit perfect.
So if you think of and it's really a really smart name, the way it brands your business and also your services.
Right.
It sounds like biology, but it's youthology, you know? So it really kind of fits into this whole thing that's happening now in the world where we're talking, we always talk about biohacking. And Jason, really, we always have artists on, right? We have a lot of artists. You're our third doctor. But I would say, and this is no knock on our other great guests, we had a nutrigenomist on, and we had Dr. Zarin Makken, who does kind of do art too, laser vein stuff, laser ablation, things of that nature. But what you're doing is a patient, I was going to say a woman, but it could be a man, right? A patient comes into you and says, I'm really self-conscious about this thing that I have. It could be her nose or his chin or whatever it is. And then you, almost like a Photoshop kind of thing, fix that thing and it gives them confidence again, which I really think is cool. Now, there's some other questions we'll have as the show proceeds, about societal stuff and stuff we talked about kind of in the green room, if you will, ahead of time. But explain in the elevator pitch what you do.
So I would tell you that youthology is based in regenerative aesthetic medicine. So us being located in the Midwest, that level of thinking is just a lot different than what other places that offer cosmetic procedures do around here. And it's not just around here, Warren, Ohio. It's around here, Cleveland, Pittsburgh, Columbus.
Sure.
So most of the products that I'm using and I'm working with are biostimulators. They're products that get injected into the body or get infused into the skin, infused into the body, and they elicit a chemical reaction and make a change somehow. So it's what we're doing is progress past putting a filler into, under a wrinkle and trying to push that wrinkle up to the surface. And I think that like you hit the nail on the head where a lot of what we do is an art. I mean, we're filtering people in real life, and it's not set up to be something that you come and I see you one time and that fixes you or quote unquote fixes whatever your complication is. Because most of what I do is very subtle, but it's meant to be subtle and ongoing. So so I'm going to treat you like a regular medicine patient where you're going to come back and we're just going to tweak whatever we did so that you can grow older but not look older, but you would also not go to work tomorrow and look different, which is what I think that everybody kind of wants anymore. And what's nice about doing it that way is it's a little bit more economical for everybody because you're not going all in and doing everything at one time. And then you can also control what look you're going for. Like if everything looks great, then that's great. You just turn into more of a maintenance person. If, like what you said at the beginning is true. Like I have a lot of transgender patients, say, and if you're a male that now you're either dressing up as a female for work or becoming a female, then I can work with you slowly and we can slowly like feminize your face or masculinize your face or just make you look more youthful or whatever you want. You can really do whatever you want.
That's really cool. Yeah. We were talking ahead of time. Jason's got like a lot of really cool before and after pictures on his site and on his social medias. And there was a nose there. And so think of it this, prodders out there. You want a nose job. Your nose got hit with a baseball, a softball when you were a kid, and
ugly stick.
Yeah, or maybe that. The idea is something happened. You're walking around with a bump on your nose that makes you self-conscious. And instead of going to get rhinoplasty, right, where they're going in and it's invasive and they're breaking it and resetting it and sewing it back. I don't even know what they do. Okay, I just you see the TV shows. You're going in kind of a non-invasive type of way, right?
Correct.
And you're filling that so that it looks smooth, which actually leads me to the very first question that my wife wanted to ask. How long does something like that last?
Right. Well, I don't like that question just in general. And if a patient or a new patient usually asks me that, I'll kind of shut them down right away because to me, it shouldn't matter how long these last because I should see you before whatever that product is goes away, if that makes sense.
Well, so how long do they need to revisit?
So the answer to your question is about 2 years, a year and a half, 2 years. But I plan on seeing you before that time anyways. And if your nose needs touched up because I corrected it, then I'll just continue to touch it up.
Because everybody's body's different, right?
Right, because your metabolism's different. How you react to some of these things are different. And I do, to your point, I do a lot of younger patients' noses, like younger, like 14, 15, 16, kids that are in high school that are getting picked on because they have an issue that they're too young for a plastic surgery. So their parents, and most of the time it's their mothers who already see me as well, will bring them in. And at that point, it's not vanity. It is a self-esteem, self-confidence thing. And it's really great. I had 2 patients this past year that I've been doing their nose for about 2 years. They both graduated high school. Now they're getting rhinoplasty, and we just dissolved that filler back out of their nose, and they went and had their surgery. So I bought them those 2 years in high school, until they realized that that's what they really wanted to do, was have that surgery. And
so you're able to remove it if they come in? Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yeah, like most of my injecting is done with, like I said, biostimulators, which are collagen-based products, or they're products that, like, I use a lot of your like fat, and then I use these 2 biostimulators called Belafil and Sculptra, and those aren't able to be degraded like that. But the regular hyaluronic acid fillers, like what I put in the nose or what you put in the lips, you can reverse instantaneously.
Yeah, I saw recently you had taken some fat out of a patient and then purified it, for lack of a better term. What was the terminology?
Purified it.
Okay.
Purified.
and then saved it and then used it as a filler in other places.
Right.
Yeah, I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah, sculpting.
Sculpting.
It is. It's real life contouring, real life filtering. It's the coolest thing. And from where, a lot of these products got their FDA approval in the early 2000s, 2006, 2007, and where we've progressed from there till now is really incredible as far as, doing procedures outside of a hospital, outside of an operating room, like things that are minimally invasive. They're a little bit more affordable.
Well, that's kind of the point too. And that's why I asked, like, the time thing too, right? Because I'm sure everybody kind of, how long is this going to last, right? Because I'd imagine that what you're doing it's not cheap. It's not like going and getting a facial, right? But you guys do facials there too, like microdermabrasion and stuff like that, or?
Yeah, all of our facials are done mostly with products that you have to have a physician on site for. Like I said earlier, we're going to have only services that you can't get at like a regular spa or salon. So we don't do relaxation facials or things that have like kind of, I don't know, what I would consider like a fad or like a hokey sort of
peeing on the face.
Yeah, something like that.
You don't do urine
right?
facials.
Right. But we would if that urine was proven.
Barry's making a funny face. Some of these women, they put baby urine on their face, man.
Wow.
That wasn't a thing. I think that was a thing at one point.
But
do you remember that, Jay?
Yeah, I do remember that.
See? So you're not getting peed on at Youthology.
Woo, thank goodness.
You're getting a scientific, which is really cool. It's like so you call it a medi spa, right? Youthology, not med spa.
Uh-huh.
And it's med because it's medical, and it's a spa like that's on steroids, not in a bad way, but in a good way, because they have a doctor on site, which is you.
Correct. Like, for instance, there's a water microdermabrasion called Hydrafacial, and you can do a Hydrafacial at a salon or a
I have
spa,
that in my house too.
or at a Sephora.
I have a pressure washer,
or at your
and I'll
house.
just hit you in the face with it.
But whereas we have something called a dermal infusion, which is a medical hydrofacial that you have to have a physician on site to do.
Okay.
So we have the only one between Beechwood and Pittsburgh here. But I went with that because that's kind of like our edge.
You didn't want
I'm there full time.
You didn't want to compete with the guy that could just hit you with the pressure washer.
Well, it depends on where you're hitting me at.
Yeah.
So I was trying to make funny of it, but you have the hydrotherapy, but it's a different type than one you'd get at like
at just a.
I was gonna I almost said
salon.
A name. I try not to name any other businesses' names, but
right. So we do. I have 3 estheticians that work. We do regular beauty services, but they usually have a medical kind of lean towards them. You're not gonna, if you came in and you met with my esthetician, you guys would be getting a service to get you towards whatever goal you had.
Mm-hmm.
less scarring, less wrinkles, more youthful looking skin, whatever.
He's kind of selling me because I'm a naturalist. I don't have any tattoos. I don't have any piercings. I don't do kind of, and not that I'm not everybody that has them. Hey, that's totally cool. It's your body. Do your thing. It's just not for me. So I always would say, like, I've never had a facial. I've never had, like, my eyebrows done or whatever. But as you're talking, I'm kind of like, man, when I get older, because I'm starting to see some wrinkles on my face, and I'm vain a little bit.
We'll go Monday, you and me, group package.
Yeah. Well, what's interesting is the average age right now to start these types of procedures in our country is about 23 and a half.
Wow. That is crazy.
So you're way behind the 8 ball. How old are you? 47, 48?
Wow. You piece of... No, I'm 44, man. Why are you trying to put that hard age on me?
Well, maybe you just look. Maybe you look a little older than you are.
You better be there Monday.
This bastard. No, listen though. Let me go back to what I was saying though about the nose thing. The nose thing is right. People you're going in, and I'm sure your procedures are not inexpensive, but they're much less expensive than say a rhinoplasty.
Correct.
And so if you stretch, because I kind of like what you're saying, if you stretch it out over time. I don't know what a rhinoplasty costs. Let's say it's like $2,000. I'm sure it's probably more.
Let's just say 8.
Is that how much?
About average, yeah.
Jesus.
And that's under the knife.
And that's under the knife. And
there's no guarantee that it's going to,
I'd rather this procedure.
Yeah,
that you can keep coming back and doing maintenance.
And the noses are, I put videos on Youthology MedSpa and on our Instagram especially, and it looks easy, but it is a very high risk, high training area. And so I like to call it like a 5-minute non-surgical rhinoplasty, which is what it ends up being in the office. But there was a lot behind it, but it's not a surgery, like you said.
Yeah.
Well, it's like
and I saw a patient yesterday for a liquid rhinoplasty, and I didn't treat her nose because I felt like I wouldn't give her the result that she was going for. She needed a surgery, so I'm pretty honest with patients like that.
But it's cool because if you, like you said, you get a rhinoplasty and then you heal, that's it. That's how you're gonna look. Whereas if you get yours done, I need a little bit more here, whatever, and then you're not going under the knife again.
Well, like you were saying,
multiple surgeries.
You can fine tune it as long as you keep coming back to get to that result. Where you get cut open, who knows?
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, and that's the hardest thing in this non-surgical aesthetic world is if you start coming to see me and you're a 24, 25-year-old female, or let's say our primary demographic is about 33 to 38-year-old female. So when I start seeing a woman that's either in their 20s or in their 30s, they're very easy to treat because we're not making these big changes, right? Like we're making small tweaks to just add a little bit of whatever they're looking for, or help take your attention off of something that's bothering them. Whereas if you brought your mother in to see me and she's never done anything before in her life, like she's going to end up like what she would want as far as goal wise would cost a lot of money. And that's where it's a little bit better to do these subtle and ongoing, start a little younger than try to play catch up when you're older. Because I have a lot of consultations with older women that have never done anything, and to do a facial rejuvenation with them non-surgically, it'll end up costing more than if they went and had a facelift.
Oh, really?
And that's what they have to kind of weigh. You know what I mean?
Huh. So it would cost more with you than it would for them to go have a facelift.
Yeah. Right.
Wow.
Correct.
Because of the material or the amount of times it would take to get that done, like your time and...
Yeah, because of the material. Like let's just say we use a product called Sculptra. And Sculptra is a collagen biostimulator. And a vial of Sculptra is $800, $800. You need 1 to 2 vials of that in your face to rejuvenate what aging has caused for every decade that you've been alive. So if you're a 60-year-old female, you come in and I quote you like 10 vials of Sculptra at $8,000. Not today, but over the next like several months. For $8,000, you can go get a facelift. And so that's where it's a little bit hard, and that's where, when we started, I do all of my pricing at Youthology results driven. So you don't come into my office and buy a syringe of Juvederm or a syringe of filler. You come in and you give me a budget. We talk about your goals. And then I kind of do what you do with art. I use mixed media. I might use 4 or 5 different products on you, but I'll stay within your budget. If I use 20% of one thing, 30% of another, you're just going to pay for what I use. I'm a pretty good guy. Like, I'll never go over what you tell me, even if I go over it, with what I use. But like, I want you to spend what you're comfortable with, and I'll never upsell you, because I don't want you to feel like you walked in, you spent more, and you can't come back, because I want you to come back, because we need to let these products work. We need to see what they're doing and then add to them. And we're pretty successful that way. Like, I think we're booked out right now through January almost.
That's great.
So if you want to get in and you're listening, you better call now for 2021.
Yeah.
I think it's interesting because we talked ahead of time. I mean, we talk about this stuff anyways, but this idea sometimes that I go, because I see there's a ton. So when people say living the dream, you probably are living the dream. Jason's kind of living a dream because all these chicks that come into his place are so good looking. So he gets to see these young, good looking chicks all the time. And I always say, like, just like a beer, certain sours, certain porters, certain things, they're not just my taste. Okay. So some of the stuff I look at and I go, I don't know why she would do that. She was hot anyways. She's 23 years old. You're young, you're vibrant, you're beautiful, you're all these things. Mm-hmm. But some of them are coming in to kind of get their confidence back, if you will. My question, though, is there a question here?
I don't know.
Just
following along.
Yeah. My question here is, do we think that a girl that comes in that's 23, they look good.
Yeah.
They're beautiful. They're young. Okay. Pretty young thing, right? As they get older into their 30s, some of them actually start looking better, right? And in their 40s, they look a little better. Now, listen.
Sure.
I'm showing crow's feet now. Like, sometimes I'm in the sun, dude, and I notice in pictures that we take and stuff, I see smiles, and I'm smiling, and I'm like, I got lines on my face and stuff.
Well, you're almost 50.
Well, according to Jason, yeah, I'm almost 50. But, these young girls that are 23, are we saying to them, are we teaching these kids not to just be themselves, and like, you have to get over some of the, like, I have moles on my face. I'm Italian. That's like how I'm built, right? And people have said, you ever think about getting that mole taken off? Like, no, not really, because I don't really care. Like, if it was impairing me in some way, I've had some moles taken off because they're in like my shave line. I don't really think about that, I guess. Maybe that's just my philosophy. I look at some of those girls and I go, damn, they're so good looking. What do you need? Now, some of them I look at where you've done like some scar stuff, where like you've filled in some scars, or even like women that are, or men.
I do a lot of stretch marks.
A lot
of acne scar treatment.
Yes. Like, so I could understand that. Like, I have a scar on my face, from getting in a altercation, and you really can't see it because it's on my orbital bone. But at some point, like you can see it, like, man, maybe I wanted to get that removed. You would be the perfect person to come see.
Right.
But a girl that's like kind of hot already, I just always wonder, I always want to ask them, what made you go in there to get like lip filler?
Would you ever tell them no? I mean, like, hey, I don't think you need that.
Sure. I had a couple of patients last year that I put on, filler probation for a while.
Okay.
Filler probation. I like that.
And I'm kind of blessed in the way that we're busy. So I do get a little picky with who I take as new patients now. And if I kind of get the vibe that you're not going to follow up with me, then I'm probably not going to treat you. And I do that maybe twice a week.
Okay.
And sometimes it stinks because I know women travel from far away to come and see us, and I don't want you to, like, let me back up the train a little bit. I had an older patient a couple years ago that I had the same conversation with that we talked about earlier, where this is going to take some time, to get to what your goal is. It's going to be a process. And she saw me that one time, and then she never came back, and she left me a bad review somewhere. And then I got kind of put off. It's like, well, I told you all this. I told you it's going to take more. And, so now I do sort of, gauge my client and my patient and make sure that we're on the same page with everything, because like Jim said earlier, this stuff gets expensive, and you want to make sure that everybody feels like they're getting what they're paying for.
Sure. Do you had mentioned that some of those, like, I think you said Juvederm or one of those was a collagen based. Is there a biological component to it too. Like, hey, you've just got this filler. Like you mentioned collagen. I put animal collagen in my coffee every morning. Correct. It gives me 10 grams of protein. It gives me collagen for my skin, my hair, all that shit, right? My connective tissues. Do you ever say, hey, or is there like a kind of a standard? I want you to eat X amount of vitamin C, drink some water. Like, what's your...
Well, I'll tell you, like, I mean, scientifically that stuff doesn't work. But, but you do you. Like, if you feel that it works, make sure, your hair thicker and whatever you're taking it for, then God bless you and drink your collagen in the morning.
Yeah, you don't believe it.
But I mean, if we're talking about the skin on your face, to where you don't want to look 48, you want to look 42. You need to put type 1 and type 3 collagen in your skin, and I have to put that in for you.
Well, I'm not saying that. I'm saying, is there a dietary biological component after you've gotten filled?
Well, sure. I mean, sure. We should all be living a healthy lifestyle. Hydration is probably the biggest, and obviously not eating a bunch of processed foods. But no, I don't have a belief system based on vitamins or.
Yeah. Okay. Should they eat more like greens? I always am kind of curious about that. To make that stuff last longer, like if there was a way to, I don't know.
No, I mean, not really. No. Like I said, most of the products that I'm injecting are biostimulators. So they're two molecules. One's called poly-L-lactic acid, and the other one's polymethylmethacrylate. And what they do is I inject them into your body. Our macrophages, part of our white blood cell chain, attack them, and that chemical reaction that they causes them to turn into type 3 collagen. And then some of that type 3 collagen in type 3 collagen is like the scaffolding for our skin. It's like the thicker collagen. Type 2 collagen is what we make throughout our whole life. That's what comes on your scar on your eyebrow. That's like the harder kind of type. And then type 1 collagen is baby collagen. So that type 1 collagen and that type 3 collagen mostly has to be artificially infused back in our body. Our body stops a lot of our collagen synthesis around 38 to 42. So, I don't know if there's a lot of scientific backing behind whatever you're drinking in the morning. There might be. But for the most part, a lot of that's advertisement. And I don't mind patients doing it as long as they're not spending, a lot of money on it.
Sure. Well,
I mean, you can take a mega vitamin and then your pee turns highlighter yellow, right? That's a lot of that vitamin coming back out.
Right. Well, the idea, at least in that instance of the collagen, is even if it doesn't do the collagen-based stuff, the hair, the skin, the nails, the whatever. Because I was trying it for like connective tissue. I have a little bit of psoriasis. I was like, man, if it makes my hair look lusher, awesome. Which would probably be hard because I have lush hair thanks to my wife. But it's got 10 grams of protein in it, and it's a natural buffer for the acid in my coffee. So it's an easy assistance into. All right, hey, in the morning, I want to get myself kind of up. I got to have my cup of coffee. Doesn't really have any nutritive value to it. But if I put this scoop of collagen in, if that other stuff works, and there's studies. They get some peer-reviewed stuff. If you go to like PubMed, you can read some different studies or whatever. But my default is I'm putting 10 grams of protein. That's my first thing that I'm getting. Protein, I got a glass of water, and I got my glass of coffee. I get my caffeine, and I'm good to go. I liked what you said about the hydration, though. So are there certain things that react with the 1 and 3 collagen to make it last longer or to make it stickier or stronger or whatever you're trying to do in that person's face or butt?
I mean, not really. Like let's take Belafil, for example. Belafil's polymethylmethacrylate, and that's a engineered microsphere. But I can't inject a microsphere into you, so they need to put it in a vehicle, and they put it in bovine collagen. So they do take cow collagen.
That's why I take bovine collagen.
So they take cow collagen gel, and then infuse it with these polymethylmethacrylate microspheres. So when I inject it into your face, that bovine collagen is gonna elicit a change. It's gonna plump your skin wherever I'm putting it. Our body will metabolize that collagen in about 6 to 8 weeks. And it'll go away.
The bovine collagen.
The bovine collagen. Yeah. And then those polymethylmethacrylate spheres are just in there forming your own collagen.
That's why you need to get multiple treatments.
Yeah, right.
As the shit lays down, you're putting back in.
Now, your body's going to break down that type 1 and type 3 collagen just like they're breaking down the collagen that you were born with that you're synthesizing on your own. So that process takes years. Like, so Belafill's FDA approved for 5 years, but we're seeing results up to 10 years because, you know, like you're going to come in and we'll boost it with more and we'll boost it with more. And I can show you multiple pictures, and most of my Instagrams kind of run this way where I can show you a picture of a patient at 48 and then a patient at 52, and she looks younger at 52. And that's why, because over these last 4 years, I've been infusing her face with so much collagen that her skin's literally younger than it was 4 years ago. Not figuratively, it's literally younger.
Some of them look like they're 20 years younger. I mean,
yeah,
honestly.
Yeah, and I can show you pictures of 52-year-old women that look 38, look 42, look 40. And that's why, because I'm making their skin younger. And so they'll look younger. And that's a completely different philosophy than going to somebody and them injecting Botox and Juvederm in your face and blowing it up like a balloon. Because if you take a lot of these fillers that most of the other, you know, injectors are using to stretch out your skin to take care of a wrinkle, you need to stretch it out, because fillers don't lift, they don't tighten, they fill. So you run the risk of looking different, and nobody wants to look different. Everybody just wants to look better.
Yeah.
Well, I like that you said it's like a gradual thing too.
Mm-hmm.
It's interesting to watch those videos that you post and tell us, you know, kind of where we can find them too. Obviously, Youthology, Facebook Youthology.
Yeah, my biggest vehicle that I use is my Instagram account.
Yes.
So that's at Youthology MedSpa, because Instagram's pretty good about just letting me, you know, it's my portfolios out there. You can look at it. And I try to run it very educational. I try to run it so that if you told your wife, hey, look at this guy's Instagram, and she flipped through it, like she'd probably see 5 or 6 things. It's like, I didn't even know you can do that. And that's what I kind of want people to know, that this stuff's out there. We're way past putting a filler in your cheek or in your fold next to your nose.
Well, even to go back to that artist theme, what we started out with, if you watch those videos that you post, and I only see them mostly on, I mean, I'm on Instagram, like very, very limited. So mostly it's Facebook.
Well, 48 Facebook.
44. So when you put those videos out, I love hearing you talk about the science, which obviously Jason's, if you're listening, Jason's very aware and very astute about the products that he's putting in. He's very educated, and he's always been a very smart guy. And we can kind of get into our histories later on, but the idea that it's a little bit of art, because when you watch it, he's got like a little bit of a technique. I'm always looking at the hand motion with the needle, you know, not so much the bigger ones where you're, and I don't even know what you're doing, because like some of the ones where you're like kind of in there with a longer thing and it's maybe taking fat out or whatever. But the ones that you're injecting filler along facial lines or butts or whatever, there's a little bit of a technique. Do you feel, was that something that how did you learn that, you know?
Yeah. Well, it's interesting because the non-surgical cosmetic medicine realm is not, there's no residency for it.
Right. I was just going to say, you're kind of teaching, learning yourself. You're like a trailblazer. We talked about trailblazers the other episode.
And so you find where you're good. And so I feel like the techniques I use are very natural techniques. They're very subtle. So my lip technique I learned in Oslo, and we do a lot of trainings in London. I do a lot of trainings in Phoenix and San Diego, and places that I search out like who's really good at this, and then you learn from them. But there's not a plan, there's not a path, and you're right, you have to maintain it on your own, because there's not any continuing education, protocol for what I do. There's really no body of medicine that oversees it. So that's where I tell girls, you have to kind of watch, because you can go down the street and any...
Me and Barry are doing it.
Yeah, right.
At our house, right.
Well, you have to be a nurse at least, but right, like there are people that are injecting out of their house that really don't have any formal training, and I don't have any formal training per se. Like I didn't do a residency in this, but I do a lot of training outside of...
Well, let's get into your background a little bit too. So obviously you're a doctor. Well, I'll ask you where you went to school and whatnot, but you practice as a your practice where Youthology is at now was your general practice.
That's
for
correct.
Several years. Right. And then Jason also practiced in the Ohio State penal society, if you
Correct.
will, right?
Right.
Tell us a little bit about that, because you're bringing
Right.
multiple disciplines into this thing. That's kind of it's biomedical art,
Right.
in a sense.
And I'll try to go quick through this, but it is interesting. That's how we ended up doing what we do here, and it was really by accident. And when I was practicing general medicine, I was practicing, like you said, in prison systems and hospitals and nursing homes. My wife went and got her lips done, and it was a painful experience. They looked bad. She spent a lot of money, and it was like, well, I can do that. I'm a doctor, kind of thing. And so I went and I
could totally see you saying that. Too.
I can.
I can do that.
And so I went and I did like some training, and I started injecting her and my sister and my mom and just people around my little circle, and still doing my regular work.
Guinea pigs. Those are your guinea pigs.
And then there was the day where I was like, well, maybe we can, generate a little bit of revenue out of this. That's when I talked to Molly. We came up with the name. And then I took one of my exam rooms at my office and turned it into Youthology, because I was really seeing a lot of regular medicine patients, and I didn't have time to advertise Dr. Rupeka injects Botox. I wanted to do, like let's call it something else, and then we can kind of throw that out there. And so Youthology was born, and then I started, injecting some of the patients we were seeing in my regular practice. And then it was like, well, if your wife comes in and we're doing some, neurotoxin or some lip fillers, but you're going down the street and getting a facial or getting a skin service, well, maybe we should start offering that too. And then Youthology grew into 2 exam rooms, and it just sort of started snowballing. And then there's an estimated like 36,000 injectors in the country, and I got named in the top 100 back in 2018. And when that happened, then we started seeing people from outside of this area.
Where was that at? How do people see that?
It's on Instagram. Mostly what people go by, it's Best Aesthetic Injectors or bestaestheticinjectors.com.
Who qualifies that?
It's a peer nominated.
Okay.
So other injectors nominate
that's
people
cool.
that are doing it.
Everybody looks at each other's portfolio kind of thing. And
and what they see when we do workshops and we do different conferences.
That's awesome. Congratulations.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
And so when we started, booking people from out of state, out of town, that's when we closed my office down, and I've just been injecting full time since then. So I've been injecting full time almost about 4 years now.
So you're getting ready to turn 50. Mm-hmm. How long have you been practicing medicine?
Since 2005.
Jason's 42. Are you 42?
I'll be 42 in a week.
Oh man, we're gonna have to have like a little. This is your pre-birthday celebration.
Right.
We inviting ourselves to his party already?
Yeah, well, this is the party. This is the party. Barry brought the Darlene, so we're in good shape. So Prodders out there, just for, disclaimer and exposure, we've all known each other since high school. Yeah. So Jason and I played soccer together, and we all went to school together. So we know a lot of the same people. And then I was very honored and blessed. I was going to say your business probably blew up when Two Ticks and the Dog did some TV spots for you, but you actually morphed the business after that,
right?
Which I really feel is like where the up curve kind of came. And but Jason and I, so we know each other through school, but we also know each other through Two Ticks did some production work for you.
Correct.
And so
I actually get more people that mention the Howard's commercial than anything.
Oh my, yeah. So like, what year was that, man?
It had to be in the late 2000s, right?
So for Prodders out there, you'll see the picture on the thing. Jason's he's a suave guy. He's a good looking guy. He works out, takes care of himself. Are you a user of Youthology? How do you do? Did you ever inject yourself? Have you ever done it?
I have not injected myself.
Okay. Well, you still look youthful.
I'll tell you what, though. I am going to get myself injected this fall because I do jaws very well, and I want mine done now. And that, now I see so many guys that come in, and it's you look at them, you're like, what the hell? Like, I want to do that.
Yeah.
Like, I want that.
Well, you still look good. You're a handsome guy. But Jason, years ago, I want to say, did you say 2008?
It had to be.
Yeah.
Maybe 11, something like that.
Jason and Derek Toll started in the local Howard's commercial. Howard's is across the square from us. They're a men's shop. So you got dressed up in some suits. Seriously though, how long have you been doing medicine? When did you know you were going to do this? Or when did you figure out in school? Did you know you're going to be a doctor when we went to high school together? Do you know?
Yeah, I think so. I think I knew early on. And that sort of behooves you because you have to know if you're going to go to medical school that you want to do it soon. Otherwise, you're going to waste a lot of time.
Sure.
Like you have to try to streamline yourself through college. And I've always been a good student. And I like the idea of, you come to me and you give me all of these issues, and then I can sit there and try to figure out what the hell's going on with you. Like, to me, it seemed like a cool profession because it would be like you're solving a puzzle all day long. And there is some of that, but then it turned into more, like you were saying earlier, the insurances take over, the pharmacies take over. It's more paperwork. It's more computer work.
Being a doctor.
Yeah. And then when it was actually, it's in retrospect now, it's an easy thing to say because Youthology is pretty successful, but for me to close my medical practice and just put all my eggs in this basket, it was crazy. It was a big leap of faith.
Yeah.
And Mary and I, we have a lot of sacrifices, along the way. And I used to feel a little bit weird that I wasn't practicing medicine anymore. And now I'm, doing all these cosmetic services, but not to bring back the noses, but I saw a girl yesterday that her mom drove her from New Jersey for me to do her nose, and I gave her the mirror afterwards, and she started crying, and that's what it's all about.
That's the juice.
That's
the juice. Yeah.
So I helped
confidence and happiness.
I helped her, and so that's a doctor does that. Like, so I felt like that's well, I'm doing my job.
You shouldn't feel like you're not still practicing medicine. I think what you just said.
Mental medicine. honestly.
Yeah.
There's some moms that come in there that you can see they work out, but there's certain spots they can't get rid of, and you do something to them, and they're posting on there like, "Oh my God, thank you, I'm so happy." That's brings a lot of confidence.
Yeah,
to people.
it's like sincere and authentic.
Yeah.
I do look at the post sometimes.
Yeah,
and I'll see these people. You're like, oh man, you're changing someone's. Confidence is everything.
100%.
Kelly was talking about confidence in the fight. Confidence before the thing. Being scared or being nervous, but even in sales or even in. I feel good about myself. I know my material, or I don't have to worry. How many times, everyone can relate to this, unless you have like flawless skin, which my wife sometimes has. I had shitty skin as a kid. I always had acne. Even now as an adult, sometimes I'll get it. And you're like, what the fuck? So at some points, how many times have you had like a huge zit and you had to go to like the party and see people, and you like the girl, or if you're a girl, you like the guy,
and you feel everyone's staring at
everyone's
one
looking
spot.
at that fucking big zit. You feel like an asshole, and then you're like, I'm not even gonna go. Like, I'm gonna fucking hide out until this goes away.
Right.
Imagine that was something all the time that someone felt, and now you're using your medicine and your skill to alleviate that for them.
Right, and then to piggyback on that, if you're somebody in your 40s and that whatever it is, that acne scar on your forehead has been bothering you your whole life, and then you realize that I could take care of it for you for like $300. Like, you're like, why the hell didn't I do this 20 years ago? It's really kind of.
What's the average price that someone pays at your place? Is it $300, $400? It all depends because it's all different.
It just depends.
I think it's nice that he has a plan. Like, you're going in there and saying, hey, listen, this is what I can afford.
And he's
like, you know what?
goal-based. Yeah,
hey, we'll work on this. And I think that is also why you're doing well, because people can say, oh, I can afford this.
Right. And my whole family's in the beauty business, right? My dad owned beauty supply companies. My mom owned hair salons. My cousin owns beauty schools. Like, my whole family's in this world. And when I started Youthology, when I closed my practice, my mom was really kind of dead set on me advertising and marketing to her, like the late 50s, early 60s, have disposable income, and I went the opposite way. I started trying to market towards the 23, 25-year-old girls. And I think because I did that way, that's why I built our pricing structure like we did, where a girl can come in that's younger and I can make this affordable because we don't need to do it all today. You can do a little bit today, and then because of these products that I'm using last so long, I can see you back in 6 months or whenever it works into your budget. And that's why I said I'm never going to try to upsell somebody, because I want them to feel like they spent what they were planning on spending, and we can always do more down the road.
Yeah, I can see it now, because I couldn't see it before you said it. You're catching them before it gets
preventable maintenance.
Yeah, exactly.
And what I've learned along the way is, when I build this trust of these girls that are younger, say even in their 30s, it's just a matter of time before they bring their mom in, or they bring their aunt in, or they bring their cousins in. You know, like it's you try to do a good job with everybody, and you try to earn their trust, because you really have to get patients to buy into the philosophy that we don't have to do everything today, because nobody really wants to look different when they go to work tomorrow. You know, we can just do little bits, and we can do little bits, and then
a little bit at a time.
Before you know it, it'll be a year from now, and you'll look better, and better to everybody's a little bit different. Better to some people is more youthful looking, more rested, more whatever you're going for. And I told Barry earlier, and I think that this is true, when I get people that comment, negatively on my post, they don't think of it in other terms. Like if your children had crooked teeth, you go and put braces on them. That's a cosmetic procedure too. And there's nothing medically relevant for that unless they have an overbite or something, but we all do that, and we don't think that that's the same thing. It is. Like if your acne scarring is bothering you, your crooked nose is bothering you, we can usually do minimally invasive procedures to correct a lot of those, and it's really cool.
Did you have Sister Mary Jean in biology class at Warren JFK? Yes. I know Barry did as well. Yeah,
one of my favorite.
Do you think that influenced that search for the solving of a puzzle? Like, because she was a hard stagecoach driver. If she would whip the horse, man, she was a.
Right.
Did you have the same experience, Jay?
Yeah.
Yeah. She ever hit you? She ever grab you?
No.
Rough you up?
No, but I am old enough to remember getting paddled at Mount Carmel.
Oh, I bet you got your ass paddled a lot, man.
We had nuns there too.
St. Cyril's.
Yeah. St. James.
Oh.
Sister Donnelly grabbed me by the scruff of the neck. So back then you knew kind of like, I knew medical kind of thing, because you went to Miami of Ohio. Correct. Yeah. Tell us a little bit about the history, the progression.
Yeah. So I went to Miami of Ohio for college, and then I went to LECOM in Erie, Pennsylvania for medical school. And I graduated medical school, started doing a residency in family medicine, and finished that here at St. Joe's and St. E's, and opened up an office down the street. And like I said, I really didn't have any inkling that this is what I wanted to do. But once I started to do it a little bit, I realized, hey, I'm pretty good at this. Like this fits. It fits somehow, and I didn't really know how. Now I understand that because I've been doing it for 3, 4, 5 years, like, almost completely. And I think that, you do have to have an eye for some of this. There is an art to it. And
did you take art classes in school? Were you like in Binko's classes or like?
Yeah, but I wasn't like Barry, obviously.
Well, there's very few people like him, but was that something you had an affinity for or an interest in?
Yeah, I think so, in different ways. Like I've played the piano since I've been, 4, and I used to do like piano concerts at YSU, and so I, like maybe I didn't draw paintings, but I've always been that way.
You're very artistic. You're very in touch. You're aware of yourself.
Right.
You know what I mean?
And then I think that I've always been very goal driven. Like I always wanted to go to medical school, and I always wanted to. I don't think that in my mind I would have started a business and let it peter out. So I don't know what part of that all works, but whatever we're doing is working.
Yeah, well, you've grown this business like very quickly, and it seems quickly. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's actually taken a lot of time because Jason's a very fit guy. Like he works out and he runs. He's a runner and a biker. And Jason and I played, like I said, we played soccer together. He's a real good soccer player. I don't know if he still is, but I'm sure you could maybe still kick it around. You're fit. But then the point of I bring this up is I can remember in the social scene, because I want to say, have you been back here like about 10 years? Since school and that kind of,
since
12
about 2007.
Years? Yeah, okay. So 13 years. So, we would be out in a social setting, and he would be getting up and like running, or getting up and, because are you still an avid runner? Mm-hmm. He was like running like 10 miles a day.
I did 6 miles this morning.
Yeah, it's crazy. You're a maniac. God bless you. That's all that good collagen. Okay. Whoa, we got a little thunder and lightning. See, we're really getting electrified. About to storm. It's about to storm here. So Jesus is consecrating this broadcast with a lightning bolt and some good rain.
That's what prodding is, right?
Yeah. Right. you would leave a setting and be like, hey, I gotta run tomorrow in the morning, and then I've got to be at the jail at 6 a.m. to see prisoners. I'm interested in that a little bit, of that background.
Yeah.
To compare and contrast the difference now, because your lifestyle is probably, you might be busier now and you're doing what you love,
right.
so you want to spend more time at it. But you were very dedicated to always be like, hey, we're at the party or we're doing whatever. Like, hey, I got to go because I've got a 6 a.m. shift and
right.
I got to get up at 4 to run.
Right.
I'm like, how's this guy even doing it? I was always been
crazy.
Yeah. Did you see a lot of patients where, you don't have to tell about where you worked or whatever, but you saw prisoners in the penal system? Yeah,
and I thought that the prison job was kind of easy in the sense that it's so regimented. There's only so much you can do with these guys. They're, because of the rules we have, the federal rules, the state rules, and so for what they pay, it was kind of like a no-brainer job. You see people, you have state benefits. The people you see, it's kind of like working at a VA as a doctor. Like the schedule they have you on is nothing compared to what you would have to do in a private practice to pay your bills and to give you a nice salary. So it was just different, and it got to a point where I really just wasn't happy there. Like I put 7 years in, I did my 7 years and that was enough.
Was it, you were not happy because of the schedule, or just the fulfillment of the work?
Yeah, it seemed like there was one day where I saw eight prisoners in the morning, and I saw them all, and I was doing charting after they left, and I grabbed a Sharpie off the floor out of my desk, and it turned out to be a shank. It was like a knife inside the Sharpie, and I called the captain, and the captain came down and he took it, and I'm like, do you need me to write a report or do something? And they're like, no, don't worry about it, it's not a big deal. And I'm like, well, it kind of is a big deal to me. Like I'm not a trained military operative. Like I'm a doctor that's here, like, and I'm a little guy. Like I'm not,
I'll get shanked.
Yeah. And then like 2 weeks after that, we were getting these prisoners in from Washington D.C. and these guys were criminals. These are guys that
hardened guys. They're rough.
That
guys.
The U.S. Marshals picked up off the street. They brought them in, and I would take their muscle relaxers away because they're not allowed to have muscle relaxers in there, and they'd get mad. And then I was kind of like, that was it. That was like, well, fuck this. Like I don't need this. This is crazy. Like I have kids at home, and so I just kind of gave it up, and that was that's when I went back and I had my office, and then Youthology kind of started, and I mean everything happens, I guess, for a reason.
Do you ever see any like similarities or things, like do you ever think like maybe if one of those prisoners didn't have that nose or didn't feel maybe not, I'm actually probably being too specific there. Well, it's too specific, but like do you think people sometimes gravitate towards a certain way or a certain way of life based on their confidence, based on I look a certain way, so I hide myself, or I do this or whatever. I'm antisocial. Like the big pimple on your face, right? Hey, you got a big pimple on your face, and you're gonna hide out. Like imagine having that on something happening to you, and you were, you had that certain look for a long time, and would you? I don't know. You ever think about that? Like
no,
the prison
I never
thing?
thought about that.
Yeah.
I mean, that's kind of deep there.
Yeah.
But I just think
I'm trying to connect the two.
What he does now, just
I'm trying to connect the prison thing to the cosmetic thing.
I see what you were trying to do.
These lights going off. We have some I think we got lightning and stuff going on, and then Jason has a thing that's flashing on his. It's kind of like throwing some strobe effect on me over here.
We're at a rave.
Yeah.
Yeah. I want to go fix that light in a second. No, I just think that sometimes if you had a certain amount of confidence, maybe you would have done something different in your life.
Sure.
And sometimes that's an outward appearance.
Sure.
Well, when you have an outward appearance that you're self-conscious about, it bothers you all the time.
Right.
And you'll bring it up to certain people and like, oh, you're crazy. You know what you're talking about. But once that's in your head, I mean, that's it. I mean, you're always thinking about that. And for them to come see you and take away that thing, it's like a relief to them.
Right. And you're right in the sense, too, that probably a good 50 or 60% of the people that walk into my office tomorrow don't really need to walk into my office tomorrow, but they're walking in because they have some kind of issue that bothers them in some sort of way.
Yeah.
And it's a really interesting psychology, and I don't really know what drives some people, but I do tell people no occasionally. There's, if you came in and you're asking me about something that I don't really see, I'll tell you, like, well, I don't really see what you're talking about, but we can try to make, whatever is bothering you better. And I have a really sophisticated camera system at Youthology that I use for that.
I saw that on your Facebook.
It's called a Vectra, and it's from Canfield Scientific. And this camera system costs, like $23,000, and it's able to tell changes in your skin, changes in the tissue under your skin, UV damage, inflammation. Like it's really kind of crazy, and it helps me. With especially my injections, because my injections are more along the subtle lines, show patients like what they're doing, because it's hard with 2D images, and it's hard if you're looking at yourself in the mirror every day, doing your hair, doing your makeup, getting yourself ready for work, to see changes in your skin tone or your skin texture. But we can show you that. That's where we're different than a.
Yeah, it almost looks like you're looking into the skin, so you kind of know where to place the needle and inject the
right, and then the
stuff.
computer will track where the product is in your face compared to where it wasn't last time.
That's cool.
I do all of my injections with a micro cannula. I know you're calling it a needle, but it's a cannula.
Oh,
so
yeah.
a cannula is a long needle without a tip. So I do have to poke a hole in the skin with the needle, but I can reach pretty much your entire face with about 5 little holes. So you don't have to worry about coming and seeing me. I can inject your whole face today, and you can go to dinner tonight because you're not going to be bruised or swollen or anything.
Okay.
And that's called Cannula Technique.
So you say it's a longer, so you can hit more places?
Yeah, I have cannulas that are 1.5 inch, 2 inch, 2.5, 3 inch, depending on where we're going. Like the ones you said for our body and our butt work, we have ones that are 15 inches. But
does it have a different tip on the end? Is it different than a hypodermic?
It's a blunt tip. So it can't break any blood vessels. It can't break any nerves or anything.
So you hit it with a needle first, then take.
Well, the needle just has to make an entry point in your skin, and then I can put it under your skin, and I can go. I can make one point on your cheek, and I can reach this whole side of your face through that one point.
Wow, that's interesting.
Not painful, and that's why I try to post a lot of these videos so you see that the girl's laying there laughing, talking to me while I'm.
Which I find crazy sometimes.
Well, yeah, right.
I'm like,
well, that was one of my questions.
Yeah.
Like, are they under any anesthesia or CBD or? Like,
I think it was like a little numbing agent, right?
We have nitrous at our office if you're, if you need it, or if you're Barry and you're just visiting. But
are you inviting us over?
We'll see you Monday.
But seriously, so you do give them a little bit of like a numbing gel or something?
No, you don't need it. That's what I'm saying.
Oh.
Because I'm under your skin surface injecting you. So I inject you from underneath, but with something that doesn't have a hypodermic needle tip on it. It has a blunt
cutting
tip.
And
it's not poking through anything. It's not causing any pain. It's not going to break any blood vessel and cause bruising or bleeding.
You're not doing damage. I did not know that. That's crazy. I was always wondering because so you're kind of using the cannula. Is that, am I saying that right?
Yeah,
the cannula. That is minimizing the inflammation.
Right, and there's certain areas like maybe under the eye,
inflammation would cause
or in the temple, where
right?
you'll get a little bit of inflammation just from that instrument going under your skin, but you don't have to worry about it breaking through a blood vessel and bleeding and then turning into a bruise. So, I saw women Friday night that were going out to dinner after they see me, and I can inject them, basically all over their face, and they can put a little bit of makeup on in their car and then go out.
And do
like nothing even happened.
What's the typical healing time after that? I mean, from the procedure.
Yeah, it depends on what we're doing. If we're doing liposuction or we're doing liposuction with fat grafting or fat transfer, then you're going to be bruised for, maybe a couple weeks. But for minimally invasive face things, there's really not any downtime, maybe a couple days. We do a lot of Fridays are always our busiest day because I think people inherently want the weekend to recover before they have to go to work. But
wait, real quick, what all do you do? What's everything you do at Youthology?
Oh, we do a lot. I mean, there's over like 140 procedures, but it's
general Botox and
yeah. I
saw you do eyebrows now.
Yeah, so we do like my wife Mary does all semi-permanent makeup and microblading. So she's
Is that the eyebrow? The new thing you
right.
guys are
Yeah, it
doing?
looks really good.
Yeah,
Right.
it does, man. I was super impressed.
it's actually like her eyebrows are my favorite thing at Youthology that we do, and we do a lot of it because it just makes the most sense to me. I don't know how many women I've went to Botox their forehead and I've wiped off an eyebrow, but Mary can put your eyebrows on that lasts like 2 years. And you don't have to worry about, getting a tattoo where 10 years down the road it turns green or purple or it looks funny.
Yeah.
Well, so what is it? Are you putting like pieces of hair in there?
No, she'll make little breaks in your skin, like very superficial breaks with a micro blade, like a razor blade, but a microscopic one. And then she fills those little strokes that she made with pigment. And she'll match the pigment to your hair. And because they're very superficial, your body will eventually push that pigment out. It takes about a couple years.
Okay.
But you can come in once a year and just get that touched up. And she can do, she can do natural strokes. She can do a little bit of shading. She can use machines. And it's really interesting. And what's cool is my wife is an artist. She's art trained. She has an art degree from Kent.
A welder.
So we continue. Yeah, right. Mm-hmm. Metalsmith.
Yeah.
So we continue along that art, stint that, our all of our services are very, they're very artistic. They're very.
Now she booked through next year?
No,
or?
it's just me.
Okay.
She's not as good as me, obviously.
Oh, wow. Mary, I'm sorry. We'll hit him after
I'm
this.
not editing that piece out.
Make sure Mary hears that.
But we have estheticians, so we do all the facial services, skin resurfacing. I have three estheticians. We do eyelash extensions because those are still real big now, and that's probably about the most into like a spa salon that we get is the eyelashes. But then, we turn into my procedures, and I do a lot of scar revision. I do a lot of stretch mark revision. And then it goes from there into face contouring, body contouring. But like you mentioned earlier, Youthology is very rapidly growing. I use a product called Sculptra, which is made by a company called Galderma, and I have their fastest growing account in history of the company, and it's a national company. I use a lot of a product called Belafil. I'm the number one Belafil injector in the North America and Canada, which is crazy because I've only
What is that, Belafil?
It's a collagen. It's the one that's bovine collagen.
Okay.
That collagen.
Not the shit that I drink in the morning.
Not the shit that you drink.
That doesn't work.
Right.
So science, that shit just doesn't work, Jim.
Right.
I'm taking it for the protein, Jay. Okay.
Hippie.
So let me just believe what I believe.
But yeah, so the products that I use, I'm going to use them because I want them to make a change inside your body. So like I was saying earlier, all of our products are they're going to elicit a change. They're going to stimulate your body to do something.
And it's all, none of this stuff is like toxic or this is all kind of like what he was saying about, obviously, I'm giving my disclaimer. I'm not giving you medical advice on my show. You shouldn't take any of this stuff as medical advice.
No.
If you want medical advice in any capacity when it comes to cosmetics, please call Jason at Youthology. There's my disclaimer.
Right.
When you put this stuff in people's bodies, like the collagen 1 and 3, I'm just going to use those terms, right?
Sure.
That's all stuff that's natural. It occurs anyways. It may not be occurring in your body at that particular time anymore.
Right.
But it's all kind of stuff that is, for lack of better terms, in a generalized, homogenized sense, organic.
Natural.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that even goes for neurotoxins, right? Like we inject. I use Dysport, which is a different version of Botox, but Dysport, Botox, these neurotoxins aren't actually toxins. They're purified proteins, that act like botulism toxin.
Oh, okay.
So it's
So when people say that, it's actually kind of incorrect.
Incorrect, correct.
Yeah.
And hyaluronic acid is a naturally occurring skin substance. That's what we inject in
they
lips.
sell it and wipe it on.
And you're right. And Kybella is a fat dissolver. It's actually purified human bile salt. So it's actually human stomach acid that's purified in a lab. So you're correct in saying that you can't really have an allergic reaction to any of these products because they are all naturally occurring body substances. Now, what the only real contraindication outside of a pregnant female would be if you had say like an autoimmune disorder like rheumatoid arthritis, and I'm going to inject.
What about, I have ulcerative colitis, so is that...
Well, so you have ulcerative colitis, and I can inject you with these products that are going to stimulate an immune response in you. We want your macrophages to attack them to turn into collagen. That could flare up your ulcerative colitis.
Okay.
So that's where we have to be a little bit careful with people. If you can, you don't want to trigger a rheumatoid flare-up in somebody that has rheumatoid arthritis. That's about the only real contraindication to these things, because they are initiating an immune response.
So in a lot of these instances, they're initiating a response that is inflammation, right? Or
right,
yeah, cool.
Which also brings me to the fact that a lot of places are popping up that are injecting this stuff kind of part time, and you'll see if you read through my Instagram. I try not to get up on a high horse, but I really have a hard time with people going to somebody that doesn't do this full time and letting them stick these products in their face, and maybe they don't study as much of them as some of us that do it full time do.
Right. And
you have to really kind of watch what you're paying for, what you're getting yourself into, because,
well, just like you said, you're going to a Youthology MedSpa, right? You're going to the med spa and there's a doctor there. Even if you're just getting a facial, I would feel more comfortable in that, because I know there's someone that's got a certain skill set that is applying a
discipline behind them.
Exactly.
Right. And if you look at like something like a chemical peel, we apply a chemical to your face and we're going to peel off a couple layers of your epidermis to help resurface. If you went to a salon or spa, they can only go to a certain depth because they don't have a doctor there. Whereas we're going to start with, a little bit of deeper ones, because like you just said, I'm on site in case there's a problem.
Sure.
I'm there.
Everybody's body's different. And someone might have a reaction.
And, the FDA blocks a lot of these procedures and these services to where if an esthetician's using them, they have to have a doctor on site, while they're using them. Well,
that's what I was kind of kidding earlier. Like, you were talking about like hydrodermabrasion, whatever that terminology was. Like, they're literally, like you could come to, this is not literal, but I mean, in a farcical sense, you're not coming to my house and I'm going to pressure wash your face. There is that in the industry, and you're the opposite of that, which I think is really cool. I think that's cool that you've come to that point where you've discovered this artistry, going from medicine, practicing general medicine and with prisoners, then your general practice, which you had a real cool general practice. If you wanted to see like Star Wars memorabilia and things of that nature, you'd go to Jason's. It was cool if you had like kids and stuff. And now you found this art form.
Right. And I think that you're right in the sense that you can do these things. We can make them affordable. You can kind of do it at your own pace. Everybody wants this natural look. They don't want to look their age, I feel like. So.
But to the point, because I think I probably led you astray a little bit, to the point of you're not just going and like, I'm doing some technique, right? Like, we looked into doing like a spa thing, right? Float technology, float pods and things of that nature. I was like looking into opening up a thing. I don't need to really know anything. I mean, I need to know some medical things, but I don't need to be certified or a doctor or any of that stuff to do that.
Right.
And that has specific medical reactions to it, right?
Right.
The nice thing about youthology is the idea that there's expertise there.
Sure. And what the average consumer doesn't understand, and this is where it kind of stinks to a certain extent that this field is really unregulated, is that if you wanted to go and say buy like an over-the-counter product for your face, I don't want to call out a company, but there's a couple that are sort of pyramid scheme companies that you can buy products for, off of somebody that isn't a skin person. Maybe they're a I don't know what, like a server somewhere, and they also sell skincare on the side, and they don't really have a medical backing. But the FDA does block what those products can do. Like they can't go through your epidermis because they're not small enough, because that person selling it to you isn't medically trained in whatever that is. So so you don't know that as a consumer. You just buy it because it says Chanel on it or it says whatever on it, you know? And like we were joking about your collagen drink, some of the stuff gets expensive, even if you're just buying it from your aunt that sells Avon or whatever, you know, like, and so at Youthology, we really try to maintain that level that whatever products we're selling you there are called cosmeceuticals, meaning that a doctor has to prescribe it or sell it to you.
Oh.
So it's FDA backed that it's going to work, you know, aside from something that your cousin's selling that's like a little bit of a fad, or, you know, your float pod. And then I really try to make...
Don't knock the float pod. It was pretty cool.
I do really try to make the services that we have there services that you feel will get a response and that have backing to them for what you're paying. And if I don't see that there's something like liposuction's a main example. Before liposuction, we were doing that like body contouring, but I wasn't seeing the results that I felt like people should have got.
Was that Cool Sculpt? Yeah.
And I wasn't seeing the results that I felt like people should have got for what they're paying for it. So we just got rid of it.
Right.
Yeah. And we're constantly doing that. That's why I can't give you a menu of our services, because I'm constantly tweaking that so that, you know, everything that you're spending there and that you're getting, we're working towards whatever your goal is.
Hit the website up for the listeners real quick.
It's www.youthologymedSpa.com.
Youthologymedspa.com.
Everything's pretty much Youthology MedSpa, like the Instagram,
I think the most important
Facebook.
thing of what he's doing is you hear him talk about you're constantly learning more.
Right.
And that gives me confidence knowing that, I know a little bit, I'm just keep doing it. You're constantly educating yourself and developing your product, which
and you have
being
to
a doctor, you know,
because certain things happen, and you know, nobody's maybe done that before, but then, you know, I'll go to a conference or a workshop and more people are doing it or talking about it, and then all of a sudden you have a new service. We do a lot of PRP. Have you heard of that?
Sure.
So we do a lot of
replacement. Yeah.
So we do a lot of PRP services.
Explain that real quick.
So PRP stands for Platelet-Rich Plasma. So if Jim came in and he had an issue with something, with, you know...
Well, they use it in, like, sports injuries, too. Rotator cuff or stuff like that. They're pulling it out.
So we do hair restoration with PRP. And the reason that was found is because they were injecting knees with it, and they found that the knees that they were injecting were growing the hair all over it. And so they, you know, turned into, now you can grow hair with PRP. So I don't know, like this aesthetic world is so evolving so fast, you have to stay up on.
So PRP, too, like... this is actually a natural product of your body. They pull the blood out of your body. They put it in a centrifuge. They take the platelets out.
It's a high-tech centrifuge.
Yeah, so they take the platelets out, and then they re-inject them. That's how they started it, right? And they re-inject them, and then your body... Actually, I want to get it done in my knee, but it's smart that Youthology's doing it in hair, and they actually...
Penises.
There you go. I was just going to say, guys out there, if you got a, I guess if you want a plumper, yeah.
A hairy penis?
The idea, no, make
it'll
penis bigger.
It'll neovasculinize, so it will
think about a needle getting stuck. No, thanks,
no.
I'm big enough. It's fine.
Yeah.
Okay.
It won't increase size. We do fillers and Bellafill for that, but it will increase. It will strengthen your your erection, because it will cause increased blood flow to there.
Maybe
I'll see you Monday.
Maybe we'll come in, man. That sounds good.
Wow.
Yeah. I thought the idea was to like...
Can you fit us in on Monday, or what's up?
I think I'm full.
He's booked, man. He's booked until 2021. You really like... It's an interesting art form, because it really is. It's an art form. And that's what I thought. Barry was actually like, we should get Jason on, you know? And I was like, yeah, that'd be cool. Because I think the idea that you can meet... art and there's a lot of medical and art things that meet art and science, right? That's all kind of the deal, but you can meet biology with this art form. So that's why I say about like your technique and things of that nature. I'm kind of curious now. I didn't know that you played piano. I never knew that. So I kind of want to, I think we should probably jam out afterwards. Barry can get some bongos. I gotta.
All right. Yeah, I'm ready.
But I'm not like, I can't, you know, play modern stuff on a keyboard. I'm more like Beethoven. I like Mozart. I like classic piano.
It's fine. We'll play right over top of it. It's no worries.
little fish show.
Yeah, right. Yeah, Jason is a mad fish fan.
Mad.
And,
I am.
And I have Dead and Company.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Yeah. He's kind of a.
We're getting our Volkswagen bus completely restored right now. It's been gone since September.
I thought you did restore it.
I know, but this time I sent it away to like a full blown.
Youthology's doing really well.
Really blown. Like take it down to the nuts and bolts and put it back together.
Because it was beautiful already, I thought.
Yeah, but it's kind of crazy. It's kind of crazy. Like, they rebuilt the engine, but they made it so that it can go 75 instead of 55.
Oh, really?
And then when you take a bus and modernize it and make it to where it can go 75, then the suspension needs drop down. It needs a wider wheelbase. It needs better brakes.
I was just going to ask you, is that safe?
And then one thing turns into another.
It's like rattling down the road.
Yeah.
Well, we're excited for the fish show together.
Yeah, right.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, listeners, lovers, and friends, I kind of walking away a believer.
Me too.
Yeah.
Me too.
I don't know. We'll have to have a conversation off air a little bit because I think it's, I don't want to admit on air that, I like my long hair and I want to make sure I keep it. And I definitely, excuse me.
What's your audience that's listening to this right now?
Well, you mean like a demo?
I mean, besides Barry and I listening to you talking, like who's your demographic?
Like probably 4 people. There's probably 4
Are they
people.
Men, women?
Probably men.
It's probably a mix.
Yeah.
No, we actually, there's about almost 6,000 listeners.
No, I know, but what demographic?
Yeah. No, I'm going to give it. So about 6,000 in about 46 states, but the main slice is it's about men 55, women 45, which is part and parcel why we wanted to have you on, Jason, so we could try to boost our female listening.
I was just asking because, I think that the connotation that I'm constantly fighting is I'll see girls come in and they're hiding the procedure from their husband or their boyfriend because they think that they're going to come and see me and then go home looking like a fish or a clown or whatever. And I just kind of wanted to throw that out there too, that if you wanted to send your wife to see me, she's not going to come back home and look like a different person is the point. And
also what you're injecting people is not some poison, because you'll hear people like, oh, they're injecting with all those chemicals and
botulism.
Yeah, and I find that like guys have a hard time putting their head around all of this cosmetic world until they see their wife come back home with increased self-confidence.
Well, let's be honest. As men, we have a hard time putting our head around a lot of things.
Right.
Well, let's be honest. The whole target that we are after is if our women are confident, then they're willing to take their clothes off a little more. And that, right? Because, we're all married, okay? We've all been married 10 years or more. We've had that married life. Gets a little, I just want my wife to feel sexy. So she's willing to take her clothes off a little bit, and if she feels more confident doing that, okay?
Sure. And if your wife wants her lips a little bigger or a little bit fuller, like, I don't think that
my wife's perfect,
there's anything
Jason.
wrong
I'm
with
just
that.
telling you.
So is my wife.
Yeah, my wife's hot.
I've never injected your wife or your wife.
Yeah.
Actually, that's a lie. I've injected both of them.
I think we had a party at our house when you were over.
let's have we should have a guy injectable party.
That's not a bad idea.
Yeah, where
I'll scrotox you up.
Yeah, I don't want to scrotox, man.
Your balls don't sweat? We can scrotox them.
No, I don't want anything injected into my penile area at all. Not penile, but penile. But scars, maybe that. I think I could get into that. Maybe some crow's feet. I think I have a chicken pox scar, probably some acne scars. I got a lot of fight scars on my face.
Yeah, scars are really cool. Like I do a lot of younger patient scar revision. You just have to stick with it because it does take a long time to get rid of scars. Like I'd say maybe sometimes up to a year, and you have to be consistent with it. Sure. But they, for the most part, they didn't pop up overnight. Those are a little easier to treat if you went and had a surgery and wanted to kind of minimize the scar that they left over. But we can definitely help you out.
Yeah, well, I might do that. We might have to do like a group. We'll have a group.
Group rate?
Do you do group rates? No.
Maybe a house party.
We actually don't do specials because I feel like
it cheapens
I shouldn't.
Yeah,
well, not only that, but I feel like you shouldn't be enticed to go somewhere to mess with your face because it's on sale.
Well, that's the point I was going to... You said this earlier, and I actually wrote a note, and I forgot to actually look at the note again. But you had said, people are doing this. It's the same way people buy art. You had said this on your episode, Barry. Everyone prodders out there listen to 39. Barry says,
rated R.
You should buy the piece that you don't really... It's not that you don't care about the price, okay? But maybe it's like... something that you wouldn't think about really. You don't think about spending money on art. Sometimes you don't think about, I can remember going to, I'll use jujitsu because we talked about it the other one. It was expensive. I was doing private lessons and my dad said, what do you spend on yourself? Like, what do you do for yourself? And I said, well, I thought about it. I really didn't do a whole lot. I don't buy a lot of clothes. I don't do whatever. The price, it's not that the price shouldn't matter, but you just want to do it. Like you see a piece and you just, an art piece, you just got to have it. It might cost $800. It might cost $1,000. That might be a stretch. Maybe cost $5,000. Whatever the price is, might be a stretch for you, but you got to have it. Same thing with what you do, the art form that you do, Jay, is that you got to have it. It makes you feel a certain way.
Yeah.
And if you can augment your persona, or your, not persona, but your projection of yourself in a way that makes you feel more confident and more secure, then there's no price you can really put on that.
Absolutely. I mean, if you can't splurge on yourself, what's the point of living?
Well, that's the other thing, right? That's what we work for. I mean, we've got families to take care of and all that stuff.
And if you, with me especially, if you had an issue and you had a smaller budget, then don't worry about it because I can work within that. It might not, we might not be able to take care of it on that first visit, but we'll get there eventually, and that's fine.
Yeah. Well, once again, YouthologyMedSpa.com to visit, to look. He's also on Instagram and Facebook.
That's where I kind of push people to. That's at Youthology MedSpa. That's probably where my main portfolio is.
So if you want to look at like some of the things that he does in different procedures, please check that out. I think it's really cool. People that, you asked about our listeners, 25 to 54 is kind of the demo, mostly male, 55, 45, male, female. The attraction's more male, but there's an interest in biohacking and medicine and things of that nature based on the data we've gathered. And I want everyone that's listening to this episode to think about this, because most of our listeners, 60% from the geography is really from northeastern Ohio and western Pennsylvania. Obviously, that's where we're from. That's where we're at. You've got a top 100 injector here in Warren, Ohio. Jason's office is located on East Market Street in Warren. It's about, 4 blocks down from Trumbull Memorial Hospital, roughly. If you're anywhere in between the Cleveland and Pittsburgh area, like, this guy's a top 100. You said there's 36,000 or 30?
Estimated, yeah.
Yeah, 36,000 injectors. I don't know how many of those are doctors. Probably not the majority, right? Because anybody can kind of... You should go check them out, because I really think that this isn't a service that maybe... Again, it's not like getting your kidney stones removed. You got to do that because you're paying. But this is something you spend on yourself to make yourself feel better.
Maintenance.
Yeah.
I mean, it's important.
Yeah, because, nobody wants to... I joked with you earlier about looking older than you are. Like, nobody wants to do that.
You bastard.
He's going to cry all night about that. Thanks a lot.
Yeah. Ladies and gentlemen.
Everybody's trying to lose weight, and when you lose weight, it kind of doesn't... It works against you a little bit, Right.
Why is that? Just real quick, because you got less fat cells or smaller?
Less fat on your face, and then your skin doesn't have that support, and it falls down. It falls towards our mouth.
Oh, we don't even have to put the electricity in. It's there right now.
Thanks for making me and Jim feel ugly today.
Yeah.
We're going to go home and cry.
Right. Ladies and gentlemen, listeners, lovers, and friends, until the next time, we want to thank Dr. Jason Rupeka for coming on the show.
I appreciate you guys having me.
Yeah, I appreciate you coming. And, of course, another artist, we want to thank Barry Berkey for co-hosting today. Until the next time, stay electrified, be kind to one another, and visit theprodcast.net. Don't forget to sign up for our giveaways. Of course, if you are interested in any of the services that Dr. Jason Rupeka serves to the public, visit youthologymedSpa.com. Check you next episode.